Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is doing relatively well after those events that happened yesterday. My mistake. I didn't watch back my video all the way, so if I actually said her name, I think I made a comment and said it wrong. It's Renee Nicole Good, not Nicole Good. My mistake. I missed a name. So that's my fault, but she will not be forgotten, and I am really sorry. I mean, truly apologize that personally, I can't claim this, but a lot of white people have not noticed that this shit's normal or believed people of color and black people for many generations. And it's sad that it took this to get people to wake the fuck up. And even still, people are trying to justify it. But let me tell you right now, this shit is not normal. Nor should it be normalized. And I rue the day that fascism as a whole meets its ugly end. And I really hope that day is soon. I hope that I am envisioning a future where that is happening very soon. That is what I truly see. That's what I believe. I think after this point in time, we've compounded this exact scenario so many times. It's a pattern that we continue to repeat, and a pattern that we continue to ignore because we get comfortable, especially those who look like me. Get comfortable in your white supremacy, even if you don't believe that it exists. I don't know. I truly envision a future. I believe that Star Trek future is coming soon, because those were allegories, right? Star Wars and Star Trek. I believe in a Star Trek future, and I believe it's coming. Whether or not we'll have interstellar intervention or not, that I can't be sure of course. I do believe that they are out there. I don't think that to think that we are the only people on this, in this godforsaken universe, is quite frankly pathetic and arrogant and small-minded. So we're gonna do the Rose Oracle. Oh, hey, I got a jumper. Okay, we'll take that one. The Thorn. Protection, boundaries, clear communication. Oh man, this card is beautiful. You see that? I'm trying to get out of the way here, so focus. Sorry. I can't see. So, I don't know if you can hear that wind. Northeastern Ohio is getting pummeled with another cold front after we just had like 2 or 3 40-degree days. There was like at least a foot or two of snow on the ground, and now there's none. So, there's that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. 132, there we go. They're in alphabetical order, but excuse me. Okay. The rose is the queen of all flowers. Her soft and often fragrant bloom takes our breath away from the near and far. Wow, from near and far. A bridge between heaven and earth. She has the capacity to act as a portal to our true selves and call our soul more fully to our body. She leaves us in awe, allowing us to experience heaven on earth for a very precious moment. But the rose is not all gentle and soft. In fact, most roses are armored with spiky thorns and prickles of various shapes and sizes. These sharp protectors act like knights, defending their queen, clearly setting the necessary boundary and conditions for her to do what she was born to do. We too are like the rose. So often, we don't get taught how important clear communication and loving boundaries are to our relationships. When we're not clear in our needs, when we don't communicate them, or we don't take responsibility, wow, okay, whoa. Felix. Sorry, okay, wow. When we're not clear on our needs, when we don't communicate them, when we don't take responsibility for them, it's impossible for others to give us what we need. This often results in a breakdown of the relationship. Communicating our needs and establishing our boundaries allows not just us to feel safe, but those we're in a relationship with need to feel safe too. This card delivers the message of the importance of clear communication, boundaries, and taking responsibility for our needs. To be clear with others, we must first be clear with ourselves, and then communicate this to our loved ones and the world. Soul inquiry at the bottom here. What loving boundaries are you being called to establish? How are you being called to communicate clearly to those you're in a relationship with? Good questions. Excuse me. I think that this card is really important right now, considering collectively we're dealing with the truly like the duality right now of like what we've been told protection is and what protection actually is, and what boundaries are, and clear communication. We are being snuffed out. We are clearly telling our leaders what we need and being ignored in the name of protection. But who are they protecting, truly? They're gaslighting us, common folk, to protect the people who are physically harming us and mentally harming us. And as we try to set more boundaries as the common folk by protesting and putting our foot down and saying enough is enough. The violence is being ramped up again in the name of protection, but protection for who? Protection for who? Who are we fucking protecting here? Not us, not me. I'm not making this about me, but you know, like, you know, I know these are all rhetorical questions, of course. I think we can all understand who's actually being protected here, and it's a bunch of PDF files. Schmurderers. Truly the worst of society is being protected. And I will never understand why. I'm sure it stems back to some sort of insecurity, feeling of superiority. Because when you can't, obviously it comes back to control. You can't control those who are clearly communicating their needs and wants. You can't control people who understand what it is like when they're trying to set boundaries. I don't know if that makes sense. Maybe I'm reaching, but I don't know. That's just my takeaway from this card. I'm gonna go to the meditation now. See what we come up with. Pardon me. Okay. This one's kind of long, so bear with me. The depth of our relationships is defined by how freely we feel we can deliver our authentic message. The deepest bonds are held together by a bridge of honesty. Real love holds space for vulnerability, a place where we can be open, raw, and even share parts of ourselves that are not fully formed, but are ready to be expressed. Whether within ourselves or in front of someone who is close to us, vulnerability asks for non-judgmental acceptance of our imperfections. This is a form of compassion that can help us observe our story in a different light, hopefully transforming what was once burdensome into a more insightful understanding. This is also a form of compassion that allows us to accept the way things are without trying to change it. Sometimes vulnerability just asks to be seen and heard. If we are far away from ourselves, if we are not honest with ourselves, and we are full of unexamined emotions and conditioning, we will naturally find it difficult to be close to others. It becomes easier to give loving support when we have taken the time to explore our own inner world and let go of the subconscious patterns that do not align with how we want to show up that do not align with how we want to show up for one another. Yeah. Vulnerability asks for non-judgmental acceptance of our imperfections. It's really hard to do that when people are weaponizing their imperfections currently. They're wearing them like badges instead of using them as tools to grow or look inward. And I think that that's, well, clearly, I mean, I think it's obvious now. I think a lot of people have been saying it and seeing it, that collectively we're going through it's a spiritual crisis at this point. I'm not going to claim it's spiritual warfare, because that's just weaponized. That's just weaponizing spiritual language. Because spirituality is inherently not warlike. And, you know, what's being considered as spiritual right now is just, it's just a mask for wanted unapologetic tyranny. And I don't know how we are supposed to get through to people like that. Truly, it's not worked for me so far. I have plenty of family members that are stuck in that mindset. They're stuck in their conditioning, and you know, I'm the one with the problem by pointing it out. And we're seeing that on the mass scale right now. Anyone who thinks, it's okay, buddy. I don't know what that was about. Anyone who dares to even consider a different way is seen as a threat instead of an opportunity for growth. And I'll admit I have definitely contributed to that mindset, but that's only because I was in the middle of surviving. But the problem is, I just don't get what it is that I don't know. Anyway, if we are far away from ourselves, if we are not honest with ourselves, and if we are full of unexamined emotions and conditioning, we will naturally find it difficult to be close with others. You know, it's ironic. My mother would always tell me as a child, and I couldn't understand why I was always obsessed with wanting a boyfriend. I know. Hindsight. But, and I always assumed that it was because nobody loved me that I didn't have a boyfriend. I was stupid young. I was way too young to even understand what a relationship was, or having a boyfriend was, or whatever, you know. I was too young to even understand what any of that meant. But at the same time, my mother would tell me, you can't love those unless you love yourself. Or you can't expect others to love you unless you love yourself, or whatever. Which was definitely a cry from her. That was her conditioning coming out, projected onto me. Though she's not wrong, but, you know, she doesn't follow her own advice. And I've called her out on it many times. And it's been thrown back in my face, again, as though I am the problem. So, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. But I think that is kind of a good example of where we are as a whole and where we need to move past from. People really need to start examining themselves and looking inward instead of projecting their fear and clearly their inability to understand anything that is outside of their little bubble onto everyone else. Like, I just don't get. The best thing I discovered in my life personally was accepting that I can't make anyone see what I see. And that includes my family. And hopefully we'll all get to that point, because living in an ego-driven society is really harmful. And we're seeing the results of that right now. So with that being said, I'm gonna go, and I will see you guys in my next video.